morning, ladies and gentlemen. After the horrific atrocities that shook my beloved country Rwanda from April 1994, and in the midst of the war that had just restarted, more than 2.5 million Rwandan population fled to neighboring countries. They fled to Burundi, to Tanzania, to Uganda, and the Democratic Republic of Congo, which was called at the time Zaire. It is estimated that Zaire took around 2 million refugees, Tanzania took 480,000, Burundi 200,000, and Uganda 10,000. In these countries, refugees settled in camps that were supported by international and national humanitarian agencies. Now today, we are here to commemorate many among those refugees who lost their lives in undignified ways that we can categorize in two strands, if you like. There were those who were systematically massacred by the Rwandan troops, and there were also those who died as a result of hard lives, malnutrition, starvation, and diseases. Up to date, it is estimated that around 500,000 Rwandan refugees died in Congo from October 1996. What happened to these refugees is now well documented and backed by a tremendous amount of evidence collected from witnesses who survived, from humanitarian agencies that operated in that region, from local residents, and also from investigation led by the UN itself. Now you would ask me what happened. In October 1996, the Rwandan government troops with a newly established Congolese rebel movement attacked refugee camps in eastern Congo, forcing many of them back to Rwanda, but at the same time killing others. There were survivors who managed to flee inside the Congolese forest, but they were pursued and killed. Now, some of the most known massacres occurred on the 20th October 1996 around the region called Katare. Refugee living camps and those going to look for food in the camps were killed. And this is from a report published in 1998 by the UNHCR. On the 24th October 1996, refugees were killed in Uvira. Between the 25th and the 27th October 1996, refugee camps in Katale and Kirumba were attacked and more than 10,000 refugees were massacred. Now survivors fled to Mugunga camp and others were repatriated to Rwanda by force. This is from a report by the MSF. Now on the 15th November 1996, Mugunga camp, which was the world's largest refugee camp at the time, was attacked and over 50,000 refugees were killed. Others were forced to return to Rwanda, but also some fled in the forest of Congo. Those who arrived in Tingitingi area fleeing massacres in eastern Congo, they were attacked and killed between the 28th February and the 13th March 1997. This is from a UN Department Humanitarian Affairs report, which was published on the 21st November 1996. Now, Shabunda camps in South Kivu, which had seen a big increase of its inhabitants as a result of refugee freeing killings in refugee camps of Kashusha and Inera. That camp was attacked on the 5th February 1997, and around again 10,000 refugees were massacred. Now, this is from a report entitled A Case of UN Peacekeeping Failure and International Law in the Journal of Modern African Studies. I will give you, whoever is interested, all the details if you want maybe to check. Now, on the 1st April 1997, after World Food Programme announced that 100,000 refugees were at 150 kilometers from Kisangani, they were also attacked and massacred. Some survived, and some of them were airlifted to Rwanda by humanitarian agencies again. On the 13th May 1997, massacres were committed by Rwandan troops in Bandaka and Wenji. This is from the UN mapping report. Now, survivors continued their fleeing journey until the end of May 1997, when they arrived in neighbor Congo Brazzaville after a trip of 1,500 kilometers. According to figures from the United Nations High Commission for Refugees, over 340,000 refugees fled, hiding in the forest of Kivu, fleeing west ahead of the advancing front line. Now, a few thousand survivors are still in Congolese forest. Now, there are also refugees who died as a result of diseases. Cholera was the main disease that killed so many. The first case of cholera in Goma was diagnosed on the 20th July 1994. This led to a major cholera outbreak of 58,000 to 80,000 cases within a month. Now, the cholera outbreak was still active when an outbreak of bloody diarrhea erupted in the first days of August and persisted in all camps until November 1994. Now, these successive outbreaks contributed greatly to unprecedented mortality rates observed during the first weeks of the emergency. A total of 48,347 bodies were buried between July 14th and August 14th. Although this might be an underestimation of the true figures because of private burials, this estimate of 50,000 deaths occurring during the first month of the emergency has been generally accepted by many sides. Later on, and except during a short period in the south of Kisangani, the humanitarian agencies had almost no access to these populations until they reached Congo Brazzaville. The population of Tingi was estimated at 80,000 people, of which 12,000, that's about 15%, were children under 5 years old. From December 18, 1996 to February 26, 1997, a total of 1,703 deaths were recorded by the surveillance system, of which 831, that is 48%, occurred among children under 5 years old. By mid-May 1997, several hundred Rwandan refugees were identified in Congo Brazzaville, in a swampy area located at 600 kilometers north of Brazzaville along the Ubangi River. They had settled in camps located in 3 villages, Lukulela, Liranga, and Njundu. It is estimated that in the first few months of their arrival, the death rate caused by disease and wounds was 5%. Now, some of the above killings and massacres have been documented in a recent report called DRC Mapping Exercise Report that has been released by the United Nations Office of the High Commission for Human Rights. The report documents, I quote, the most serious violation of human rights and international humanitarian law committed, end of quote, within the territory of the Democratic Republic of Congo between March 1993 and June 2003, end of quote. The report contains a detailed account of breakup of Rwanda refugee camps in eastern Congo at the start of the First Congo War in October 1996, followed by the pursuit of hundreds of thousands of Hutu refugees and Hutu population across the country's vast lands by teams of Rwanda, Burundi, and Ugandan soldiers and their Congolese rebel collaborates, the Alliance of the Democratic Forces for the Liberation of Congo. The apparently systematic nature of these violations suggests that the numerous deaths cannot be attributed to the hazards of both First and Second Congo Wars, or seen as equating the collateral damage. The majority of the victims were children, women, elderly people, and the sick, who posed no threat to the attacking forces. Numerous serious attacks on the physical and psychological integrity of members of the group were also committed, with a very high number of Hutus shot, raped, burned, or beaten. Very large numbers of victims were forced to flee and travel long distances to escape the pursuers who were trying to kill them. The hunt lasted for months, resulting in the deaths of an unknown number of people subjected to cruel, inhuman, and degrading living conditions without access to food or medication. On several occasions, the humanitarian aid intended for them was deliberately blocked, in particular in Oriental province, depriving them of assistance essential to their survival. The mapping report team noted that, I quote, "The question of whether the numerous serious acts of violence committed against the Hutus constitute crimes of genocide has attracted a significant degree of comment and to date remains unsolved. The report repeatedly stresses that this question can only be decided by a court decision on the basis of evidence beyond all reasonable doubt. However, the apparent systematic and widespread attacks described in this report reveal a number of inculpatory elements that, if proven before a competent court, could be characterized as crimes of genocide. It should be noted that certain elements could cause a court to hesitate to decide on the existence of a genocidal plan, such as the fact that as of 15th November 1996, several tens of thousands of Rwandan Hutu refugees, many of whom had survived previous attacks, were repatriated to Rwanda with the help of the FDL APR authorities, that is the Rwandan troops, and the hundreds of thousands of Rwandan Hutu were able to return to Rwanda with the consent of the Rwandan authorities prior to the start of the First War. While in general, the killings did not spare women and children, it should be noted that in some places, at the beginning of the First War, Hutu women and children were in fact separated from the men, and only the men were subsequently killed. Rwandan refugees' killings were previously being recognized in the Johnson report, in the name given to the 1994 findings made by a team under Robert Johnson, which was under contract to the United Nations High Commission for Refugees, and identified a pattern of massacres by the Rwandan Patriotic Front rebels after their military victory in the civil war in post-genocide Rwanda. The findings were suppressed by the United Nations and involved governments for political reasons, and its existence was denied. No final report so far was ever completed, though purported early written documentation has been leaked. Let us remember all those who lost their lives in circumstances I described above. Let us keep their memories alive by honoring them, and more importantly, let us promote peace, reconciliation, justice, so that events like these never ever happen again. Thank you.